Good afternoon, Final Fantasy Randomizer fans, and welcome to this pod matchup of the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring 2021 tournament between Phoenix29 and Edgeworth. My name is Jat. I'm joined here in the booth with Saracen, and we are looking forward to an exciting matchup here. So, Saracen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jat. Thank you much. Yeah, it's looking like a very interesting match right off the bat. Edgeworth versus Phoenix29, good matchup, I think. Part of the Sea Troll pod, as I recall.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. And yeah, Phoenix and Edgeworth, Phoenix, a relatively new player to the community, but has been practicing quite a bit and already, putting up some decent times. Edgeworth, of course, a very veteran runner, been around, a key member of the Dragon World Randomizer, or Dragon Warrior Randomizer community, as well as a large number of other ones, Worlds Collide, things like that. And yeah, I'm excited to see what we have. So we see right off the bat a small difference in party comps. So do you want to kind of speak quickly on like the advantages and disadvantages of each of these?
Sure. So we're seeing black belt comps right out the gate, which everybody sees that as the let's punch our way to victory, get our One Punch Man built up. But when we look at the differences between a 3-man red-black and a 4-man red-white-black, we're really looking at having more experience just in the walking grind for Phoenix29 because it's split only 3 ways instead of 4. But the extra versatility of having the white mage in case there are white magic locked spells from the red mage side. So level 1, 2nd and 4th slot, level 3, 2nd and 4th slot, things that the red mage can't learn, the white mage can pick up, as well as having the possibility of 2 life casters.
Yeah, for sure. Another small downside with the 4-person party is just that it takes a little bit longer to down off all the characters or kill off all the characters to get that EXP distributed onto the black belt. However, yeah, I think Edgeworth is more than skilled enough at doing that he can make it efficient. Also, a lot of players will tend to kill off their mages even before the grind starts, and that can really speed things up. So, as mentioned, we are in the pod flag, so if you haven't seen that before, that means we start with a free canoe. There's Northern Docks on, so we can go to Sea and Sky, and a brand new flag for this tournament, for all the past spring tournaments, we didn't have it, is random chest and dungeon. So instead of it being loose, any chest, or incentive chest, which means it's like one exact chest in the dungeon, instead it's the items, we know what dungeons they are in, but we don't know what chest it's in. So that's something that you're going to have to keep an eye out, and you may see, especially with these black belt comps, that they're going to open chest, open chest, open chest, especially in Sea and Sky, but once they get their incentive, they're just going to be like, nope, you know what, boxes aren't important anymore. And with that, it looks like our runners are going to get started any second now, so I'm going to pass it over to Saracen to take us through this early game.
Sure. Standard opening here, running right to the magic shops to see what we have. Oh, weapon shop. Ooh. Life, level 1, slot 1. Very good for the red mage. And not a good sweeper in sight. Our best options are Cake and Bane. Cake is, good enough. Bane we can see some good use on in the Sea Shrine and Sky Tower, but both of those, they're not damage spells, they're instant kill spells, so you're really looking at the accuracy versus magic defense on the enemies. Opening item shop has no shop item. The vendor incentive item is not here, but we do have quite a bit of housing.
Yeah, Bert pointing out in chat, Quake and Bane are great. The combination can kill anything in the game. It's a little bit annoying because the insta-kills are unreliable, but in the early game, they're both more than enough. And as Bert's mentioning, in the late game, the combination of earth resistance and poison resistance is very rare. So it does let you get through a lot of things, even if we don't see any magic at level 2. But, we'll be seeing Provoke soon enough, and a level 2 nuke or Fade solves all problems.
One thing that I am seeing right off the bat, Phoenix is running straight into Garland, but we have Edgeworth checking the Toph chests. I'm personally a fan of checking the chests. I like getting the early money out of them. If there's anything good in them, that's great too. But we're really not seeing a whole lot here. We have a rune sword and an opal shield +1. Really nothing to write home about on that front. The opal shield might give us a little bit of starting money as we go into town, but nothing too great there.
Yeah, it is what it is, but as you mentioned, that opal armor, or opal shield, will be able to be sold for a decent chunk of cash, and in the early game, a couple $1,000 is basically what you're looking for prior to Elfwood.
Right. Here we see that instinct kill going down on Edgeworth's side to take out Garland. We have the crown off of the king. and the herb off of Princess Sarah. So that gives us a little bit to do on the western side of the Inner Sea. We get to take care of Astos right away in the Northwest Castle and talk to the prince to get him back awake, give him his medicine. Here we have Phoenix going in against the pirates. Let's see how Cake performs here. You know, better than expected. 8 out of 9 ain't bad.
Yeah, pirates have very low magic defense, so usually you'll get most of them down, almost all of them down with 2 spells. Yeah, the interesting thing is the standard route here, if you didn't get the ship, is usually to go to Crescent Lake. But with those 2 items kind of in the western and southern part of the continent, skipping Crescent Lake, especially with that ship, is definitely reasonable. You could go kill Astos and turn in the herb and then head over to Crescent Lake. Or maybe you did Marsh first, so lots of options in this early game, as opposed to when it's like, you know, bottle, slab, ruby as the first 3 sides. That's the first 3 items.
Yeah, that seems to be about 2/3 of my runs, is getting all of the things that I can't access right away. Heal 2 and Wall as notable spells out of level 2 white magic. Wall is a very useful defensive spell. It basically is a one-fight ribbon. Ice 3 and Lock of note in the black magic level 2. Confuse if you're really interested in going after Carrie with her status weakness. Otherwise, you know, really it's about having that damage sweeper finally and having something to make your fights more consistent against bosses later on in the game.
So Edgeworth, doing the early Matoya check and finding a ribbon, that's a pretty nice pickup. Now the thing with that is that if, you know, the crown or the herb don't turn into the crystal, that's going to be a pretty big edge for Edgeworth. But if Phoenix, you know, just gets the crystal early, then he's almost certainly going to check those chests, so.
Exactly.
Oh, speaking
There's that crystal.
Commentator blessing for Phoenix, depending on whose side you're on. We saw some Edgeworth fans in chat, but our tracker, Burt Reynolds, cheering on for Phoenix, so.
You know, I'm just going to say I cheer on a good match anytime I can see it. Temper and Lock 2, I noticed, just off the bat in our level 3 magic.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Burt Reynolds, our tracker tonight, keeping notes for us all night, or all afternoon. Jeez, these afternoon races throwing me off a little bit. But we had Lock at level 2 as well, so Lock's a plenty, which of course does lower monsters' evasion. It can be very important for black belts to be able to do a solid amount of damage against some of the later fiends.
One of the things I'm seeing as we're looking at the Elfland magic shops is sure, Nuke is fantastic, level 4 black magic, and it's available to both the red and the black mage here. However, there were a lot of very juicy spells for white magic that Phoenix29 is just not going to have access to. I saw Fade and Cure 4 and Life 2, I think. All of those locked out from the red mage, so that white mage is going to be showing some value with the 3rd and 4th level slots.
Yeah, the red mage, somewhat surprisingly not as valuable as it would normally be. However, the fact that it has life at level 1 and nuke at level 4, as well as temper, probably just makes it valuable enough that the white mage may still end up tasting dirt for most of the seed.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to see. I think at the bare minimum, before the final dive into the Temple of Fiends Revisited, we'll probably see that white mage get some levels, make sure that there's some survivability, or, you know, maybe get turned into a statue. Little lawn ornament safety to make sure that there's life caster around later on. But certainly, you know, there's a strong possibility that we'll see that white mage face down for a lot of the seed.
So I did just want to quickly take this opportunity to highlight a strategic difference between Phoenix and Edgeworth. So Phoenix cleared all of Elfland, but bought very little magic because he was broke. Edgeworth, they checked a lot of these chests and are going to have to like double back into Matoya's cave, for example. But they may have a little bit more gold, and if he chooses not, or if they choose not to full clear Elfland, that could be an advantage where they get to just single dip the backside. So a little bit, you know, trade-offs, and neither is strictly correct. It's just, you know, what you're looking for.
Very true. I think that the money situation is going to be pretty tight for Edgeworth, even right now going in. There just wasn't a lot of saleable items, not a lot of gold. You know, typically you see at least one decent-sized gold pile somewhere in there, but haven't quite gotten that just yet.
Bert, my co-op partner from last year, and I had the same thought. Sell the ribbon! Don't actually sell the ribbon. But it actually has been a winning strategy in some weekly races in the past for the Final Fantasy Randomizer community. Ribbons sell for a ton of money. The rarity of them, of course, usually makes it a bad call. When there's elite gear in shops, though, it's actually a legitimate play to like boost some money in the early game if you can just buy ribbons in the late game. Because ribbons, while they have value throughout the seed, they are really the most important for the Temple of Fiends Revisited final dungeon. So Phoenix, where are we going? It looks like a Northwest Castle play, which makes sense.
Yep, and we see Edgeworth going there as well. Matoyo's given us the loot in exchange for that crystal, so, good for later. Good for the slight scaling to gold and experience that we receive for having additional key items. And Astos giving us the rod when we take him out. So that's going to be helpful later on as well. We still need a way out of the Inner Sea to use that, but, it's good to have. It's part of our go mode. We need to see it sooner or later.
So this is shaping up to see something that I've kind of been a bit of a pattern in the ST pods rounds, which is where the floater is not, 100% at all, but like looking more and more likely to be outside of the Inner Sea. And, we may actually be hitting floaterless go modes. Just the fact that we already have the loot, we already have the rod, those are key items that don't block, that don't allow you to go into sea and sky. That just is going to push those items later and makes it more likely for, Marsh to have Oxyl, Cube and Chime to be vendor item, and Waterfall, etc., etc., and then the floater ends up in sky with duds in the bottle and the slab turn-in. So now, the strategic relevance of that is, do they decide to clear Earth earlier, so that way they don't have to come back to it later, if they, find a decent grind in Earth 1, for example? That's something that I've been playing around with a little bit, where you're kind of assuming if it's going to be floaterless, and I'd be interested to see, if you get up to level, say, 20 on a decent grind, do you go clear Earth while you're there with that early rod? So, if people have opinions in chat, let me know. I'm just, crowdsourcing my strategy.
Burt Reynolds saying floater is always in sky. That is my experience with these pod flags very frequently.
Mm-hmm.
You see Phoenix going into Marsh, going for Marsh Attic right off the bat, which has been kind of a more recent play in the meta. There's 4 chests up there. It's pretty easy to get in and get out. We'll see if that pays off. It's also nice, if there's nothing up here of note, just being able to reset back and do your longer path down to the basement.
Phoenix taking a few extra steps. Walking along the bottom of this room does not cause encounter, so if you walk right and then up instead of up and then right, you actually save a decent chunk of steps. But, not a big deal for right now. But if he hits an encounter on the last few steps, it can make a difference. Ooh!
Oh, there's a save.
So this would be such a good fighter seed so far. I would be very scared if I was, with open parties here, if your opponent brought a fighter. Because early Masa is like the fighter starter pack, and Masa +2, Ribbon +4. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Even so, I don't mind seeing the Masa in here as a black belt party, just because it gives your black belt something to do until you hit level 21 and your punches actually start, doing something of worth.
Oh, absolutely.
I did see Phoenix put that on the Red Mage, which is also a great play. The Red Mage being able to do something when you run out of spell slots is fantastic. But, certainly it's not a bad thing to have the backup weapon, and depending on how our spike tiles come up this seed, because we have them in a tri-state, there's 2 different ways that they can come up. There's either the vanilla spike tiles, and they're just rearranged, or we have what we call B-sides. And those B-sides frequently, they're not so solo-friendly. A lot of the spike tiles in the vanilla game are really great for, just a black belt punching them down. So you've got the solo Eye, the solo Agama, the solo Red Dragon even, and these are all great options for, one character to go in, punch a single monster, and take it out. But with the B-sides, if we have those, a lot of those come in 3s and 4s, and that's a lot harder to keep your black belt upright. It's a lot more menu intensive, and here we see the canal in Marsh, so we finally have our way out of the Inner Sea. We could see some interesting route divergence once Edgeworth catches up and gets that, headed there right now, but this opens up a lot of different options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, Edgeworth docking the boat on the way to Marsh in a way that like I never do, but interesting usage of those boat dock or canal docks as we kind of call them, or river docks. And also our tracker Bert saying, edge to Marsh before Crescent Lake. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Usually the things that draw you to an early Marsh are sweepers that are good in it, like fire, but we don't have that. And also the other thing is if you have warp and exit, it makes it a lot faster. As Phoenix here spent a lot of time going up and down and up and down just because of, the need to walk out. That being said, definitely justifiable. The reason why going to Marsh first is advantageous. The trade-off is that if you do Marsh first and it's nothing, you can do Crescent Lake straight into Ice Cave, as that may be, where the canal is if it wasn't here, for example. Versus if you do Crescent Lake first, you might have to go to Crescent Lake, then you have to decide if you want to go to Ice or Marsh at that point, and either way, you're going to be backtracking if you guess wrong. So, trade-offs either way. I don't mind the Marsh play though. They have some stuff to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think that the nice thing about what's happened here and finding the canal here is we now know that we're not going to come across an objectively bad incentive item, right? So you're not going to have the floater already, have your airship, and then dive into a dungeon and find the canal. That is one of the worst feelings out there. It's, instant reset, go back to your airship and fly away to victory. But at the same time, it's all of the time that you spent going down and finding that item. This does guarantee that there's at least something of interest. I don't know how interesting it will be because, we do have a couple of items in our incentive pool that are not required. Some nice to haves, such as the white shirt and the power gauntlet. Those are items that you can use to cast spells in battle, Invis 2 for the white shirt and Saber for the power gauntlet, but they're not really necessary for the party comps that we're seeing here today.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would argue all of those are like basically not quite duds, but not something that they're going to care about. The other potential dud is the ruby still. If we get an earlier floater, then the ruby can just be not required with the Titan's Trove itself not being incentivized. Only Sarda is, but of course if you have the floater you can just fly right to Sarda.
Exactly. I did see Fast and Zap in the level 5 black magic shop. I did not catch the white magic shop.
I'm waiting for our tracker notes to update, although we were having a conversation in chat, so perhaps you didn't catch it either. But I think Fast, the critical spell there. Fast, one of the most important black magic spells, if not the most important black magic spell for the fighter comp, or sorry, for the black belt. That is quite a tile in the Marsh, the wizard tile in the vanilla game. Very good EXP for if you can kill it, but absolutely terrifying. I was running a practice race the other day, and I took it twice, pushed my luck after I got turn order, and I just completely got blown out. Whiz vamps hurt like crazy, so would not recommend taking that multiple times, and that's why Edgeworth also wisely decided to leave.
Yeah, and that's certainly a scary tile to see, but at the same time, like Trenton said in chat here, that is some juicy experience. So, as mentioned, B-side trap tiles or spike tiles are a little bit more party friendly. So we'll, potentially be seeing some interesting things there. That Masa is going to continue to be very useful as we get along. And, from here, going to have to see where the seat opens up to, because we see using the regular dock instead of our river dock to get into Crescent Lake on Phoenix's side, and Edgeworth still working along in the inner sea. But, we'll see where they end up going in terms of this routing here, because as you're going into Crescent Lake, you could certainly say, yeah, I want to go do ice. And there's a couple of different routes there. There's a lot of river system traversal to get there. But at the same time, you could say, hey, I want to push out ice as long as possible, even though it's close to Crescent Lake. Maybe I go do Ordeals. I can check 2 shops in the Onrak continent because there's northern docks on, so I can stop by Onrak, I can stop by Underhill, the Oasis merchant. Fun fact, I only learned that Underhill was that merchant's name when Caleb brought it up during the pod reveal. But that gives us some options. We do see Warp at level 6. Very important for consideration on Ice and Ordeals.
And even Waterfall. So all of those all those non-Fiend Dungeon incentive locations all would really benefit from that warp, but you're not going to need to hit level 16 to be able to cast it, so... And for Ordeals, you usually want more than one cast, so that's a consideration if they want to go and see if they get a few levels first before they dive those, or if they're just going to go right into it. Also, I think Trolls have Death Touch, because I just saw the Black Belt just die on the way here, so that's kind of rude, and could be actually a concern in the Earth Cave dive later, even if you have like a 42 Black Belt or something like that. Death Touch can be very rude, even though, lower chance with that much magic defense.
Yep, and we are seeing some instances of rudeness on the rivers. The common river kraken, that is the Hydra, does punch quite hard, and there's a quick reset out of Phoenix, just trying to get out into the rivers here.
I'm frankly terrified by this dive for Phoenix. So Bird and I were discussing in chat, going into Ice Cave at this level essentially with the spells. With these spells, where Ice 3 is kind of your like go-to sweeper, which is just terrible in Ice Cave, and he's going in essentially at the part where I was like, it'd be pretty sketchy to go into Ice Cave with this party and Ice 3 is your main sweeper. He's going in at level 7, so this is kind of the make or break point for Phoenix with no warp, no exit, going into Ice Cave, and like he's struggling to navigate the river system, and that's not his fault. It's just the river system hurts, but Ice is going to be even scarier. So yeah, this is some sketchy business here. We'll really keep your eye out on Phoenix's side, because this could be a make or break moment for this race.
Yeah, I've certainly had my share of struggles for low-level ice caves. I recall more than a few instances of that, and it's not as though Phoenix has the resources to pick up some levels and house up and go back in and still feel comfortable going about the river system from there, especially if your goal here is to find one of your trap tiles to work on. So there's several spikes that you can work on in here. I think 5 total.
I think so.
Yeah. And even the encounters along the way are pretty good experience at this level for what Phoenix has going on.
The issue is like the fights on the way. I still believe for the most part that like trying to grind in ice is a trap, because it's so dangerous. Like it's not like you can't do it, but a lot of the tiles don't have free steps, like these 2 on the top floor here. And not only that, you have to get out, which can be absolutely terrifying. And like once again, he's just looking at his options here and realizing, hey, I have 2 casts of nuke, maybe 3, 1 on the red mage, and otherwise I have Ice 3 to deal with strictly undead enemies, so very, very, very gross. Geist with Trance already giving him a tough time. Meanwhile, Edgeworth, this is the play that I would probably prefer, which is check Crescent Lake and then get out of dodge. Maybe go to the southern continent where you can deal with a few more enemies and Ordeals, or even just go check the Earth Trap tiles.
It looks like we're getting an Adamant check here, which, is not bad. I might want to economize that with some other check up here as well. So maybe those Earth Spike tiles, if we had the TNT as well, that would be great. Oh, and the floater. So Edgeworth likely getting off to a relatively early lead with just that find, as Phoenix continues to struggle with the undead in ice.
Yeah, that is terrible news for Phoenix, because if he's going to slam his face into Ice Cave, there needed to be like a floater in here, or something that leads to the floater. A key would be excellent as well. But at this point, Edgeworth already has found the prize, and the prize was for free in Crescent Lake. Also, interesting note, people who were talking about the going to Marsh first. Well, if you had gone to Crescent Lake actually just had the floater, and then you could have ended up skipping Marsh entirely. So something that I would just be kind of worried about as someone who ran Marsh. The thing is, as a commentator, we have perfect information on both runners. But as a runner, you can be absolutely terrified of like, did your opponent take a fighter with a Masa, Flame Armor +2, and a Ribbon available, like, all for free? Did your opponent go to Crescent Lake and turn in the Adamant and get the Floater and never dive Marsh, etc., etc., etc.? So, you know, lots of scary things, and you often assume the worst.
You know, when I'm running, I tend not to think about my opponent too terribly much until I start looking at my timer. You know, we get closer to 45 minutes, I start wondering quite a lot. You get the slab out of Sarda, so nice proximity to go get that translated, so we can go to Lefane a little bit later and get whatever is there. Can be good experience on the way, but I, don't think that that's going to be the focus that we see from Edgeworth for that trip. Phoenix continuing to ram his face into the ice cave, which is getting more unfortunate by the minute.
Yeah, Phoenix needs to make an adjustment here. I'm okay to, like, if you really want to do ice right now, you could go do the Volcano, check Volcano for some levels, hopefully find a house and be able to house up. That's like a really classic play, especially when houses are fairly cheap at 900 gold. So you could go to Volcano, get some levels on the trap, maybe get a grind going, and then you can go clear ice after. But just going into this ice cave with trance, undead packs, with blizzard, with just all sorts of awfulness, like, it's not going to work at level 7. This is... Excuse me. Essentially what I was saying about the level 7 ice dive with ice 3 as your primary sweeper. It's just not a good time.
We did see the TNT at the Oasis, Underhill, holding on to our incentive item, kind of like the vanilla game, but, TNT, not normally what you find there. Ooh, Nuke Spectres.
Please leave. Phoenix, listen to us through the time warp. Nuke Spectres, Trance, something else undead, like... And you have the TNT in your inventory, it's just waiting for you. Of course, when you're running and you have a plan, sometimes the plan goes awry and you just stick to it, and that's totally fair, but every second that he spends in here, Edgeworth has no incentive to go into Ice Cave until he gets warm, so he's going to be getting some levels first, and those levels are going to make this dive a lot safer.
The question is, with the routing that Edgeworth is taking at this point, do they even have a real incentive to go into Ice? No. We don't know what the incentive item is in there. We haven't seen anything but a terrible, terrible spike tile with the trance undead. I'm not seeing a whole lot of potential yet for what could be there. And there's so many checks that are available once you have the airship. So we could be seeing a lot more of the overworld stuff. We could be seeing some checks for spike tiles in relatively open locations like Earth Cave, like Volcano, where you can just drop in, you don't have to walk through terribly much of the dungeon to find something to do.
Yeah, these blue Ds can be a grind if they have no HP, but they don't. And okay, Edgeworth going straight to Ordeals, I think this makes sense. I was going to say, I think there's two kind of possible plays for Edgeworth at this point. They could either go to check grinds, or they could go clear Ordeals and maybe Waterfall. But Waterfall you don't really want to go to without the Oxale. I think grinds is the plan here. So Ordeals is kind of a double duty. It has 3 grind tiles that you can check, and they're relatively safe. And you can get some experience, and you can get a key item. So Ordeals making lots of sense. I would expect, though, if they don't find something in Ordeals, to maybe go check Earth Cave or Volcano next.
Yeah, and certainly, I will say that there's one spike tile in Ordeals that it's near and dear to my heart because I love the linked chest, but there is a spike tile on the maze floor here. It's in this top right room. It can be good. Lobsters, not really so good. If you have exit, this is the time. This is exactly why I like that linked chest, is being able to check, get that incentive item early, and get out.
Okay,
we see Phoenix finally making that adjustment.
Phoenix leaving, Edgeworth finding the nice zombie Ds here.
Yes.
They do have HP. It's not a spike, but still good, just some good experience. This is why we all love Ordeals. Maybe a little bit less without Warp, but Ordeals has good EXP enemies that die relatively easily to a large number of spells. It has 3 trap tiles that you can get out relatively safely from, and it has a bunch of chests that are relatively free once you get through. Ordeals the best, other than the walk. But Phoenix finally making that adjustment. It's really unfortunate for Phoenix, actually, because Phoenix was in, I'd say, a very good position. He was actually a little bit ahead of Edgeworth in terms of levels, exploration, kind of everything actually. But then that ice dive just completely put him behind. So very unfortunate.
Yeah, it certainly put the brakes on progress there. Some nice experience from a 4-pack of Mancats. Mancats resistant to basically everything, but have terrible MDef and low hit points usually, so a fade, a nuke, usually enough to take them out, and they're fairly juicy at the point that we're at right now. Get some early-ish levels for Edgeworth's group.
I just consider them weak to fade and nuke, essentially. That's their elemental weaknesses.
Well, zap.
And zap. That's true. Level 14, so 2 levels away from warp charges, which could be important if Edgeworth decides to go to Waterfall.
Pardon me, Vorpal plus 5? Excuse me? This really is turning into an interesting fighter seed.
Oh yeah, this is the worst type of thing if you're running a black belt. You're just terrified your opponent brought a fighter and is going to go into Temple of Fiends Revisited with level 24 fighter while you grind up. Okay, Phoenix does make the next play, which is to turn in the Adamant for the floater. So that is
probably feels very much the sadness of having to raid that turn in.
Having watched that though, that is 100% what Phoenix had to do there. So thank goodness he made that play. Linkshot asking in chat, +5 Vorpal, how much crit percentage is that? So that is going to have 75 crit rate. So 37.5% crit chance. So TLDR a lot.
I see big plus, I swing big plus. I am a simple man. I always just think of the Vorpal as that thing you need a few more tempers on, but it's going to do a lot of work.
Well, it has more base damage at +5 than the vanilla Sun Sword, so that Vorpal +5 is an incredible endgame sword, actually close to the Masa +2 and probably better than the Masa +2 on the Final Fiends. The Masa is going to do more damage on your average enemy, just because of the ridiculous 52 base damage, and crits not mattering quite so much, but that Vorpal is incredible against Tia, Chaos, anything with high absorb.
These are some dangerous Kaizoku on the open waters. I think they were bracking.
Yeah, and softs, not having any in the early game is pretty common if you don't have a ton of money. They are always available in Canary though, so he can just go pick some up there.
Right. And we are airborne. The Skyboat is off to the races for both of our runners now. So good to see that. Now we get to see what the routing choices are there. Edgeworth getting back to their airship. Probably turn in that bottle right away since it's so close. And see if maybe we can find something to do. Oh, maybe. We see a sandwich shop opening up in the desert. I did not see how far off of the hard reset that is, but this is, at the very least a serviceable grind for the black belt. Usually, we do like our sandwiches, but I'm not sure how many steps that was off of the hard reset or if that was a subsequent encounter.
Chadbert saying in chat a lot. Yeah, it's always hard when I'm commentating to be able to tell the encounter table that well. You have to really pay attention, but Edgeworth, a pretty experienced player, I think he'd be checking the desert if he had a super quick encounter, so...
Yeah.
I think the Earth spike tiles was kind of the priority here, but getting the key first might be nice before you go to back to the southern continent, so that way you can check Northwest Castle grinds, you can check Toflock grinds, and you can turn in the key for the Canaria Castle lock. So doing the bottle first, of course, making a lot of sense here.
Right.
While we're in a little bit of a lull in the action while Phoenix decides where he wants to go first, I did just want to quickly give Edgeworth's favorite enemy is the 3 zeros in the RNG table, which I thought was a great answer. Meanwhile, Phoenix29's favorite enemy, the Rock Gall, and Phoenix29 took part in the 2021 Winter Dab Tournament, so, very exciting there. And then Edgeworth, basically lots of tournaments, and has even won a few, as they mentioned, so... Yeah. Gonna pick up their TNT though.
Every time I see the TNT and the Adamant separated by so far of a distance, it makes me just a little bit sad, knowing that I have to go back in. hopefully, I did not see for sure, but hopefully Edgeworth was able to get enough levels on that Black Mage to get a warp charge, get out of here as fast as possible, and not have to do the walk of shame back out.
Yeah, neither run are really prioritizing checking spikes or grind yet. This is usually, like, yes, we have 5% key item experience, so every key item you get an additional 5% EXP in gold, but that's usually not that much of a consideration at the level of key items that we're at right now. Neither run are really checking to see how they're going to get their black belt levels. That's fair enough.
That is a kind of a concern here. I would agree, and we see the Ruby of Sadness popping up, the Ruby that serves no purpose but to open 4 boxes in the Titan's Trove, none of them incentivized. Not likely that that's going to amount to much of anything other than the small 5% XP and gold boost that we have per key item.
Yeah, so I mentioned that Phoenix kind of got himself in a little bit of a deficit over Edgeworth, and at this point it looks like that deficit is exactly 1 Ordeals. So he's about an Ordeals behind Edgeworth at this point.
Yeah, roughly. There have been a couple more overworld checks that Edgeworth has done, and here we see an on-rack play. So looks like probably Waterfall first. That's just kind of how that goes. We don't have the Oxy yet, so we'll see where this ends up.
Yeah, I like the Waterfall play. It's better than Ice Cave, and they're going to get the levels. Sorry, my apologies for that. They're going to get the levels in here to get Warp, which will allow them to do Ice Cave prior to... Or sorry, it will allow them to do Ice Cave with Warp, which is a huge time save.
I did see that Edgeworth does have 1 warp charge, so that was the quick exit from the Dwarf Cave.
Oh.
But that also is nice for a quick exit from the Waterfall, and certainly if we're able to pick up some levels here, Mudgull's one of my favorite enemies to take the walking grind on. That can help get additional charges, so we can make better advantage of that when we see the Ice Cave later, if that is a required dungeon.
Phoenix deciding to go with the Volcano Armory check. Now, while that's definitely not a bad play, and actually, man, Perilous with Cremate is just rude. Certainly not a bad play, but I don't know what he's expecting to find that will give him an edge at this point. So to me, there's 2 thoughts that go through my head. The first is, if you're checking the armory for the chests, you should be using a fighter, right? The second is, it's 2 spike tile checks, 1 on the free chest, 1 in the armory. If it is in the armory that you find the good grind, you go down a couple floors so you can take it where there's a free space where you're not going to advance the encounter table. Correct.
I'm not a big fan of leaving. Once you leave the volcano, you've admitted that was just wasted time. And there is the Oxyale from the robot in the Waterfall.
I mean, yes, it was kind of wasted time, but he was mostly, I think, checking it for the spike tiles, so...
Right.
Yes, not the end of the world, but I don't think he was going there in the first place to get the, kill carry. I think he was going there looking for a grind, and I think he might go to Earth next, if that's kind of what's on his mind.
Yeah, and to me, I tend to check the Earth trap tiles first. Just they're so much closer to the entrance, and so it's resetting back when you see a bad one. It doesn't feel like as much of an investment, and I feel like Volcano, even though it's fairly close to Crescent Lake, it's fairly close to Ice Cave, it's still kind of isolated compared to Earth. There's just something about the location of Earth Cave that plays better to me.
Gloomshoe asking in chat, the White Mage did actually have plus 20 strength, so that's something. And the Black Mage can learn Life 1 as well, so there's the class blurses definitely do have some effect here, but not critical. Man, these grinds, just not what you're looking for. I would probably be, resetting out of that. So Edgeworth right into Sea Shrine. Party level's a little sketchy, doesn't have great sweeper support, but in decent shape here, right?
I think Edgeworth having 3 mages with their top-end spells for damage is more than enough to take down Kraken if we don't see a really rude spell or script come out. There's a lot of punching, and there's the sadness of missing 3,000 gold to get your incentive item there. Is that a second ribbon on Edgeworth's side?
Yes, that is a second ribbon in a very, very free chest in Sea Shrine, so Phoenix probably going to pick that up as well. There is a decision to go Mermaids first or Kraken first. Generally speaking, you go Mermaids first if you want chests and or levels, and you go Kraken first if you don't want one of those two things. So if the incentive item is in Mermaids, maybe Phoenix doesn't pick up that ribbon, but that one's so free in the sea hallway.
Yeah. Here we are on the fabulous Sharknado floor with several grind tiles, and oh, the key! We have found our key item. It is thankfully here, and that means that the incentive cannot be off in what we affectionately refer to as TFC. Nice to just get that out of the way. Opens up a couple additional spike tiles that we can check. The defense -5, so our black belt is now super safe for when we go to fight Chaos or Kraken 2 or any of the terrible punchy punches that we have in this game.
This is such an incredibly good fighter seed. Like, wow. Just wow. But the black belt, you know, definitely can punch above its weight class, so not a big deal. Especially because both of our runners, of course, are running black belts. But defense, 2 ribbons, Masa, flame armor +3. Holy smokes. This never happens when you run a fighter, but of course when both runners run black belts, the fighter gear is just going to appear out of nowhere. Now let's see what Edgeworth strats are going to be for Kraken. I anticipate it's going to be mostly fades and nukes. Oh no, it looks like he's going to go, or they're going to go defense on the black belt and power bonks maybe? As like a backup if the fades and nukes fail. Oh, they didn't equip the defense. Oops.
Whoops-a-doodle. Here we go, swinging the Masa, taking a couple of nukes and fades. Down goes the Black Mage, which is quite unfortunate. Continuing to nuke and fade, swing with the Masa. I can't imagine this Kraken lives past this round. And here I am, imagining it as it happens. Ooh, bad turn order. Hopefully, there we go. Terminated. We're safe. We're safe, chat.
Getting through Kraken, always a good feeling. Getting through Kraken 2, feeling even better, but Phoenix going to be happy to pick up his Oxyale and not even going to check the chest. That's fair.
I think Phoenix would check the chests prior to walking out.
Okay.
But it is the problem of not having enough levels for that warp charge on the Black Mage coming to bite Phoenix at the moment.
Yeah, makes a big difference. The other thing that Phoenix might do is go Mermaid side first, which will lose him a decent chunk of time over Edgeworth. But I think at this point, Edgeworth goes and checks, obviously key locked, and maybe they go for their grinds now? I don't even know. Maybe Edgeworth just doesn't feel like they need a grind, because just, you know what, I have fast, I have power bonk, I have defense. A 32 black belt would still be helpful, but you could even go all in on a Masa swinging level 24 black belt.
That's certainly a possibility. I don't know about it, though. Not having the health pool... Ooh, the chime. And we've now opened up Sky, Sky, Sky. Always a big fan of that. And I think that puts us into go mode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so the tail and... which, like, these runners don't care about whatsoever, and the white shirt in Ice Cave. So the tail and white shirt are in Ice Cave and Sky, respectively. Like, we don't know which one. But just stuff we really don't need. So Edgeworth about to hit the gas. Now, what is the play now that you want to go fast?
So, I'm still concerned about levels. I would be checking the couple of trap tiles that are opened up once you have the key. So, the Temple of Fiends locked room on the bottom right, the 2 spike tiles in Northwest Castle. These are things that I always check when I have the floater already. And I think that they're good, safe grinds to check. If you're going to just go, Earth Cave seems like the right one. It's the one that you have the levels for. You're not going to have the morale break that you'd get if you had, say, a level 42 black belt, where you're going to see monsters run away from you. But Lich is a cakewalk from here.
Okay, Edge giving some information on their strategy. Edgeworth just saying, you know what? I'm gonna go kill Lich without even checking the spikes, and this is leading me to believe that their plan is to go with a 4-man, like, Masa all-in type deal for the Temple of Fiends Revisited, which is totally fair. Keep in mind, this party has 3 life casters, multiple fast casters, defense sword, power gauntlet. The one thing it's lacking is whole party evasion, to a certain extent, but the 4-person strat here definitely makes some sense and saves a lot of time on that black belt grind, especially considering we haven't found a good one yet.
Yeah, and I think the issue about the levels is going to come up a couple of times here, just because we have those specters again coming up with nuke. They can kill even the black belt right now. So we're in that situation where non-elemental damage is a serious concern. Maybe we pick up a few levels going through Sky. I would expect there to be at least a few encounters taken there. I would doubt that we would see a Warmech kill, but we're in kind of that interesting position. We know what's needed, more or less. We see the strategy change up of let's just pull out the big guns on these usually pretty easy undead, because they would do it right back at us.
Yeah. I was a little surprised that Edgeworth decided to just dive right back into Earth, but the only reason is that you could go to Sky first, get some levels, and then come back with like a slightly higher chance to survive, but maybe the thought is that if you get ambushed or tranced down or whatever, you're dying to nuke regardless, so I might as well smash my face into this now, and just get through it with enough trial and error.
The other thing is, you wipe once, it's RNG. You wipe twice, maybe it's a problem. But the third time, that's where I think it's time to make a real adjustment and potentially leave to go find those levels elsewhere. Yeah. So, one wipe, yeah, it's about, a little over a third of the way through the dungeon. It's still not as bad as it could be.
And we have a vampire down.
Not even checking the Earth validation chest.
There is not an item they could open that they would care about. Like, we have a Masa, we have 2 ribbons, we have the defense sword, the power gauntlet. I can't imagine what they would open. I guess the best chest they could open would be a 3rd ribbon, which is pretty redundant, or like an opal bracelet. What else are you gonna get?
You open them for the fans, chat. Asher Trunk and the Vampire Validation.
For the fans.
I don't care about the Temple of Fiends validation tests. I never check those because I'm terrified of, any random encounters that ambush me there. But we're talking about Earth Cave. Like, these are like a total of 10 steps out of your way.
Earth Cave is more scary than Temple of Fiends at this point. But I don't think the validation chest can actually cause encounters. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, the validation room is encounter free. So there, if you want to do it for the fans, you can do it. The only thing you're losing is like the 10 seconds it takes to open those 2 boxes.
That's also the time where I'm panicking because my opponent is probably ahead of me. So that's what I get for not being a better runner. Oh, we're getting the spike tile checks finally.
This water tile is actually pretty solid for getting some full party EXP if Phoenix wants to take it again. Edgeworth going to be deeply unhappy by those grinds and going to look elsewhere. But looks like Carrie's next on the docket, so Edgeworth pedal to the metal.
Yeah, no surprise there. Once you've found your go mode, just go, right? Really, there's only 2 stages once you've found all of your required items. It's go mode or go find some levels mode. And, we are at least checking these spike tiles. It's still going to be bad news. as expected, running right by the armory because that same spike tile is going to be found a couple floors lower and in a better position. Yeah, this Naga water tile that Phoenix is sitting on is a very high experience tile. Having Ice 3 is also very good for it since the waters are weak to ice. The waters do seem to have a decent amount of health, so that's unfortunate. But still, the amount of experience that you're getting on a per fight basis, it makes it very worthwhile.
20,000 EXP per fight. The waters basically die to 2 ices, but not 1, so this next fight is going to be a little bit scary. But they should have enough EXP to survive it. Yeah, okay, Phoenix is deciding to go, ooh, ambush not good.
Yeah, that's a problem. Edgeworth continuing down the volcano. Damage poison coming out from mummies. That's a thing we have learned. This could potentially make the trip down to carry a little bit... Ooh, and a quad X coming out and taking out the black belt on Edgeworth's side. This is getting very close to reset and go back. And we get the fade out, so that's good. Phoenix, meanwhile...
So Phoenix's second Ice 3 didn't go off, but the Thor Hammer strats... No, don't... Oh, I think the Thor Hammer was a better call there than running, but does get away. I think those waters were guaranteed to die to the Thor Hammer, or pretty close to it, but gets the first turn run, so... Goodbye.
Well, good news for Edgeworth, was able to get out of that encounter, is looking potentially to set themselves up to have just that solo black belt, which is good if you're checking the tiles in Toeflocht and Northwest Castle. You see the switch of the ribbon over there as well, and it looked like a gold bracelet. So, gearing up that black belt to be ready to solo things, and to watch these mages spend some time face down, thinking about their life choices of deciding to join this black belt on his adventure.
Oh, perfect. That... For Edgeworth.
Defense up, and here we go. A little under 200 damage on 4 hits. Not terrible against carry.
Deeply uninspiring, though.
Yes, absolutely. It's okay. This is a very one-sided fight when you see Fire 2 coming out against a ribboned black belt and Amasa swinging back at your face. So that is the 3rd crystal.
We have 2 runners with just the solo black belt up right now.
I mean, I don't hate it.
Ooh.
Going to see about that sandwich shop again, I see.
Okay.
And a Tyro. I can't hate a Tyro. We all need some steak in our diet. And with that solo black belt up, this experience is going to come very fast against any of the solo encounter. You get our steak and wings combo here, but nah. This is a lot of encounters off of a hard reset, is what I'm seeing. But, this is still workable if the,
This
another
is
sandwich.
This is pretty solid.
Doable. Yeah.
The fact that it's like a big... There's multiple ones that you can take in a row makes it a lot better. This is pretty fast off the hard reset. I'd be super happy with this grind. How high is Edgeworth going to go, though?
I don't expect to see it go past 32. 32, swap the Masa over to the red mage or the white mage, and off and away you go. You've got 2 decent hitters.
Yeah, Bert saying what I was kind of thinking as well, which is this is a 32 grind, not a 42 grind, and I'm on the same page. We'll see what Edgeworth decides to do.
I don't particularly see a point in going to 42 with what's been seen so far.
Yeah.
You know, the scariest enemies that we've seen so far, they don't show up in the Temple of Fiends Revisited. We're not going to see
True.
specters roaming around in there with their nuke.
Well, I was gonna say we could see them on the trap tab, but we've already seen it. I think.
Right.
Oh, so Phoenix is going mermaids first, and this is really unfortunate for him.
You know, it might not be, because, and I do this myself, I like to check both of the chests on the split floor before I go down to Kraken side.
Oh, interesting.
Just to make sure, you know, if I can... I don't want to miss that chest, have that be the incentive, and then go check everything on the way to Kraken, because I'd like to preserve my resources on the way down.
Interesting. So looks like that is Phoenix's play. I have never done that in all of my seeds. I've never checked that chest and then like gone left, but it does make sense. It's very similar to I checked an extra chest on TFC on the way down to Mermaids on the TFC floor. I checked the one that's kind of like just left when you're heading down instead of just opening the one that's below for kind of similar reasons. But Phoenix gonna be in good shape, gonna pick up his second ribbon and that critical go mode key item.
Yeah, and, you know, I checked that same chest on the Mermaid side as well on the TFC floor, so I understand that. At the same time, I know I'm kind of a mediocre runner, so, you know, don't take advice from me if you don't think it's a good piece of advice.
So, decision point coming up for Edgeworth here shortly. We've had some opinions thrown around in chat, commentators' opinions, but ultimately what matters is the runner's opinion, so we'll have to see what Edgeworth decides to do. 29 right now. There's the ribbon for Phoenix.
Glad to see that. One less concern as you're going through Topher is having those ribbons on both of your mages. I get a little concerned with the idea of just having the black belt and two mages. Sometimes it's just sometimes not enough hit points to soak the damage, not enough bodies to take the hits. But here we get Phoenix picking up his key. 30 on Edgeworth's side as they continue to grind on this sandwich shop.
Now, okay, Phoenix is continuing to open boxes. I was going to say, I wonder if he will miss the defense sword, but if he finishes the full clear of, like, the west side of the Sea Shrine, then he will pick up that defense. And the defense, one of the best items in the game. Casting Ruse on a stick, excellent. So good, and really does allow the Black Belt to have solo potential in the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Absolutely. You know, one thing I am wondering on Phoenix's side is we see the Black Belt has been moved down into the second slot, and the main reason that that's a concern is that the Black Belt's bonus this seed is plus 40 agility, which helps with ambushes. You know, I don't know why you would put the red mage up front in this particular situation, unless you were trying to kill them off. Does look like Edgeworth is stopping their grind at 32. Makes sense to me. I think that that's a very reasonable level for the resources that they have available to them. And I'm pretty sure that with Phoenix, the reason he's checking these rooms is not so much the chests, though, you know, obviously went back to check the chests when he had already cleared them, but it's also checking for those spike tiles and seeing if there's a serviceable grind here. Does not look to be the case, which is, you know, much to his chagrin.
Absolutely. Edgeworth gonna go finish off their last orb dungeon, their last fiend dungeon in Sky, and I expect to see 0 chests opened in here.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
And then we'll be entering the Temple of Fiends Revisited right around the 1 hour mark at this rate. Maybe slightly earlier, depending on how many encounters Edgeworth decides to take. If, you know, they take some fights on the Bridge of Destiny to get their mages some more levels.
Yeah, I think this is going to be mostly run all the way up, which is totally reasonable with the resources available. I would still expect, you know, any particularly juicy individual fight, you know, you find an eye, whatever, you throw the black mage to punch and everybody else to run, see what happens, or, you know, show off your fancy armor to avoid wasting time on animations. We are seeing Ice 3 coming out at the Nightmares, though, so Nightmares are decent experience. They're good enough for the party. But, yep, just like you predicted, we're not checking boxes here. There's no point. Looks like Phoenix has found what is an okay-ish tile. There's usually a lot of absorb on the sentries and the guards. I wouldn't take it with the resources he's got, but, you know, checking chess. There's that defense.
Yeah, I think the desert is where Phoenix will want to check next, but we'll see. So Edgeworth is taking some fights, which I do like. That gives their mages some extra levels, which is pretty important just to make sure that they can survive a nuke or a nuclear with those life charges. But keep in mind, all 3 of Edgeworth's mages have life, because the black mage has level 1 white magic, so any low roll nuke or nuclear, and they will have a life caster still left.
Right. And that's, you know, once you have the safety of those couple extra levels, that's going to be a fantastic addition. Edgeworth continuing their zoom progress right across the Bridge of Destiny. Not a lot of encounters taken there. I saw some nachos, and we're going to see Tiamat just get punched down very quickly here. Thunder coming out. Not, you know, the greatest thing. However, you know, those levels on the mages have really piled up. There's enough HP to survive that.
And there we go. 4 orbs lit at the 58-minute mark. And Edgeworth, yeah, basically right on that 1 hour mark, we're going to be seeing a Temple of Fiends Revisited dive. Took essentially the fights I would have expected them to take.
Exactly. Little snack on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Double sandwiches to the airship. Yeah, at this point, I would just expect a final shop run to max out your heal potions and make sure you've got enough pures and softs and whatnot for your dive into the Temple of Fiends Revisited, and then off and away. Picking up an additional gold or pro rings here. I had missed that there were pro rings in this armor shop, which, you know, always good to have that additional armor. They are a fantastic arm slot.
Phoenix cutting it a little close on that crack in there, but does get through. So that is Phoenix's... Is that the first orb Phoenix has lit? I guess we've just seen quick dives into, like, Volcano, but no actual clears of them.
Right. A little bit more shopping on Edgeworth's side than I had expected, but, you know, this is good safety going into the Temple of Fiends Revisited, making sure you've got enough absorb on your mages. It's just one little bit more safety.
Ooh. So Edgeworth kind of committing to potential White Samurai strats as a backup. I'm going to assume this is still, of course, a all-in black belt type scenario for the plan A, but plan B is defense sword, Mossa swinging white mage with plus 20 strength. So Bert, our tracker, was mentioning earlier that the blurses don't really matter too much, but life on the black mage and plus 20 strength on that white mage, those could really come into effect here as Edgeworth enters the Temple of Fiends Revisited at the 1 hour and 40 second mark.
Phoenix there was just thinking about going into the ice cave and then went, oh wait, yeah, I got the key. I should really check that first. And is going to be richly rewarded for that change in plans with the final item needed to get through this seed.
And there we go. At the same time, Phoenix does hit his go mode.
Edgeworth finding what would have been a good full party grind had it been anywhere but where it was. The metal slime spike tile there in the validation chest room. But the loot plate has been shattered. Off we go through the last keylock door. And to some rude frost giants and frost wolves. That's
Rude.
That's an encounter, all right.
Yep.
Phoenix is checking the spike tiles in Northwest. Makes a lot of sense for where he's at. Not a great encounter here, to my reckoning, but yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah, not ideal. When a single nuke takes them down, you can definitely get some EXP, but they have very high MDef. So, yeah, just not really what you're looking for. But, you know, can pick up a few levels. Ooh, this could be good.
This is the sort of tile that I would have been looking for about half an hour ago. But, you know, behind the key lock here, not so great. And with B-side tiles, I think this can have the big eye in it as well, which really jumps that experience up quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I'd be willing to sit on this.
It's Gersharks with the regular shark. Very sad. Even so,
this is doable. I would, you know, considering what we've seen and the stage of the race we're at right now, this is very doable. And that regular shark is going to start running once the black belt gets some levels. So,
right.
Yeah, Trenton's saying the angry sharks usually have too much HP, but the fact that we have a Masa and a black belt means that we can punch, and then hopefully the shark runs. Just need this black belt, or this black mage to get killed off here.
You know, it shouldn't take terribly long. There we go. They were hitting decently hard enough once the armor was unequipped.
Yeah.
Here we see Lich 2 on Edgeworth's side, and I can't imagine that the speed bump lives very long. It looked like a Masa swing took it down from the white mage, so off we go into the carry floor.
Yeah, so carry can surprisingly punch pretty hard, but really what Edgeworth's party is concerned about is AoE non-elementals to take out all the life casters. This party can even survive the black belt getting killed, but all 3 mages going down in 1 nuke is the bad time.
Well, you know, very friendly start with an ink, basically a free turn. You know, it should be okay. As
Wow.
we see the black belt get the right turn order for the terminate right away.
Yeah, that was some pretty, I mean, I guess awful turnover because carry went first, but when the first turn is ink, it doesn't really matter.
Off we go to Kraken's floor. We're seeing some waters off the bat, which is not so great. There's the seafood party platter. Letting him get away right away. Or them get away right away. Making good use of the free spaces along the walls in there, as one would expect from Edgeworth. Or Sacrificial Black Mage moved up into the first slot. And starting right out with the defense strats on the White Mage.
Yeah, I like that. We don't really need the white mage for damage at this point. I don't think going pure speed and power is necessary here. Keeping the white mage alive is probably more important. And with 2 defenses, oh, Kraken, not a ton of HP either. With 2 defenses, that white mage is probably going to survive the punch with the power bonks and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you know, here we see Edgeworth continuing along, just not even raising the Black Mage until right before Tia 2. Saving for the potential for healing from any random encounters that came along. And right back in at the sacrificial spot.
Hex Ice Blue. Shockingly, we don't have a vanilla Masa check, but actually that is a condition that some of our runners have put on some of their races, where you must check the vanilla Masa chest as like a requirement to win the seed, which I think is funny. Edgeworth getting the business, but does live and gets turn order, so that's huge.
Yeah, and it looked like a Cure 4 going out to the White Mage to keep that mage alive, keep the life casts available, and Tia 2 goes down to some punches.
Yeah, that was the scary thing that could happen, but once again, those extra few levels that Edgeworth got in Sky really make paying off there, and then getting the turn order on Cure 4.
Absolutely. Phoenix continuing to grind on these Gersharks and Sharks. That Shark running away, so we're getting to that morale break point. 33, probably going to push up to 40, 42. 42 being that final break point for hits, which is where the black belt goes from punching very hard to, fine red mist. So on to the Chaos fight. We are starting out with some Invis 2 out of the White Mage. It looks like a defense on the Black Belt. So getting defensively set up as a Swirl comes out.
Yeah, this Black Belt has basically everything they need to be able to solo if necessary. Just, a couple turns though and we should be good to go. And punching already. That's decent.
358, not bad. See a temper come out onto that Black Belt, which is good. Edgeworth making sure to keep their mages alive. If not targets, they're still providing a lot of buffs out there, which is good. And 1697 off of 16 hits. That Black Belt is now swinging for the fences, and we're going to see this Chaos just fall very fast.
Yeah, Chaos doing a whole lot of nothing. When you can't even take out a Black Mage in slot 1, it's not a good sign for your continued survival. And there goes Edgeworth, our first place finisher, with an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 51 seconds. So GG to Edge.
GG's Edgeworth, that is a wrap on that Chaos, which is fantastic. Looking to see if Edgeworth wants to come in and have a little interview with us. Phoenix29 resing up to go complete their lighting of the orbs, and I would guess off to Volcano from here since it's the nearest.
Yeah, once you have that 42 Black Belt, proximity routing basically becomes the de facto decision-making tool.
Absolutely. And especially now, knowing you're in go mode, you've got the 42. There's nothing that you have to grab anymore. No chest to open. It's just go in, punch what you need to punch, run from everything else. And everything is going to run from you in Volcano and Earth. So,
And we are joined by our first place finisher, Edgeworth. GG's.
I think.
And GG, Edgeworth.
So, as Phoenix here is finishing up lighting his last few orbs, do you kind of have any initial thoughts on the seed? Anything that you want to highlight?
So I was surprised having only opened 50 chests. I felt like I got a ton of good fighter gear. I'm just curious. I think this would have been like an amazing fighter seed just based on picking up everything along the critical path, but it wasn't a bad black belt seed either.
No, you use the power cycle grind to great effect in the desert, and it seemed like you found a nice kind of cycle of them with those sandworms. But yeah, that was something I actually highlighted right at the beginning. Like, this could have been the fighter seed to end all fighter seeds with Masa, Flame Armor, 2 ribbons. Defense maybe was skipped, like people might have skipped that, but all those other ones you're basically getting no matter what chest you open. There's 0 agree chests, and you're in amazing fighter shape. So yeah, was that something that was kind of going through your head, or did you kind of know that Phoenix would go black belt as well?
I didn't really know much about Phoenix other than sort of the time, so I kind of had in my head if I could, get this done in under 130 or so, I think I would be in pretty good shape. So it took a few extra fights. Grabbed a bunch of extra levels in Sky. I probably would have ran from if I was trying to go fast.
Yeah. Those I was highlighting though, those levels in Sky, well, maybe they didn't make or break, like they definitely helped you survive that kind of scary Tia fight, so paying off.
Yeah, that was the White Mage with 10 extra health. Like I think I probably could have soloed Chaos, but when you don't have to, that's much better.
Yeah, for sure. The defense power gauntlet with even a 32 black belt with a ribbon, you can solo not comfortably, but it's definitely doable. At that point, you're mostly scared about like getting turn order punched or, getting non-elemental like 3 turns in a row or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty solid play. One of the big things that probably didn't even occur to you because you never went there was that Phoenix decided to dive ice before turning in the adamant for that floater, and Ice Cave was just atrocious. Just the trance, the nuke, everything was just murdering Phoenix for a good solid 4 dies before he decided to leave. Meanwhile, you just turned in that adamant and kind of flew from there. So yeah, that was definitely a critical turning point alongside just some small execution things and other small edges that you managed to gain throughout the seed.
Yeah, when I saw the Spectres had nuke, I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't have to do ice. I try to put that off until after I get warp, just to get those 3 chests and make things a little bit more convenient. Fortunately, putting it off actually paid off.
Oh yeah,
real big.
Yeah, the sky item and the ice item being the tail and the white shirt, essentially items you just cared not at all about, was really, really good. Saracen, do you have any questions for Edge as Phoenix kind of finishes up lighting his 3rd orb?
So the warp charge situation was actually something I wanted to touch on. Is you went into Ordeals with 1 charge, I think. But then you went off to Waterfall with 1 charge, which is a good escape route, but you didn't have the Oxyel yet. So was there any consideration about going to Ice prior to Waterfall on the potential that the Oxyel was there? Or was that really I want to wait until I have a couple more warp charges and make that routing a little easier?
Yeah, because I only need 1 to bounce out of Waterfall, but I need a lot more to get out of Ice. So if it happens to be like, well, I have to do ice anyway, but it's an endgame item, maybe I have like 4 or 5 warp charges and I don't have to loop through the entire thing. Just trying to save a little bit of time.
Yeah. I actually want to highlight that is for, newer runners who might be watching that. I really liked your utilization of timely levels to get those warp charges and really basing some of your routing around that. So that was really nice.
Yeah, it was frustrating that the water pack kept trying to back row the black mage when I was trying to get my 1 warp charge. But
yeah, yep. Because that's how odds work, right?
Oh yeah, that's why I moved the ribbon down. I'm like +4. You need all the help you can get, and it happened again.
Yeah, stop it, please. As you said, the three zeros in the RNG table, your favorite as always. Maybe those are also what leads to the back row getting punched.
As long as it's not the 3rd slot, I'm
okay. X Ice Blue has a question in chat. How did you feel after you got tentacled in Sea Shrine?
I was not happy about that. I mean, fortunately, like the nukes rolled high, but yeah, that was not fun. I actually thought that defense sword. I thought I had an extra slot in my Black Belt's inventory, and I didn't. So I'm just like, well, we can go speed and power and probably get through this.
Yeah.
Emphasis on probably.
Yeah, we saw you make that check, and we're like, oh, it looks like the Black Belt's gonna cast no defense. This should be fine. Once again, should be the key word here.
Yeah, all the setup for that, and then just seeing that the defense hadn't landed in the Black Belt's inventory was a little bit of a wake-up call.
But
I mean, when you have nuke fade nuke, I think you're okay. If the magic had been a lot worse than this, or if I was relying on Brax strats, that would have been hard to back down for sure.
Yeah, nuke fade nuke will get through a lot of Fiend fights in at 100 to 150% HP scaling. Lich, Carry, Kraken 1, even Kraken 2 to some extent. Kraken 2 will go down to nuke, fade on turn 2 some of the time, and guaranteed on turn 3. So, if all your mages stay up, which is a big if.
And another thing I wanted to ask you about Edgeworth is, early in the seed, we saw Phoenix skipping a fair number of the early chests, the Toph left side Matoya chests, and I saw that you had gone for those. Particularly the Matoya chest. Is that just looking for early money for spells, or was there something that you were really hoping for out of that?
It's mostly early money, and that's one of the reasons why, as far as routing goes, I tried to get some extra money before Elfland as well. It was just in case I ran into warp or exit at, say, level 3 instead of level 6, it's going to make life a lot easier. But
Yeah,
you
for
need
sure.
money for that.
And certainly, Elfland's magic shops were rather rich in available resources, so having that money was something that I know I would have been anxious for.
Yeah, one of the things that I often find is if I don't have a lot of money early game, I end up having to come back to Provoca to buy equipment later.
Mhm.
So if, say, Pro Rings were there or Silver Bracelets, yeah, I was gonna, it would feel real bad having to come back later for that. But no, it turns out, just the magic was good, and then getting the rest of the money worked out pretty well.
Yeah, not having early game money also leads to like the really feels bad man of like triple dipping or quadruple dipping Elfland, which no one wants to do. That town takes so much time. If there's something I could tell new players, it's like time yourself how much time you're spending in Elfland throughout a seed, because sometimes it can be like 4 minutes just spent in Elfland, just shopping and walking and shopping and walking.
Yeah, there will be a lot of times where I just skip level 4 altogether until I come back, just because you don't get the charges until level 10.
Yeah, checking level 3 black magic and white magic before like diving Marsh is kind of a go-to, and then sometimes skipping those for future ones for later, because just checking level 3 magic is quite quick in Elfland. And it looks
On
like
stream
Phoenix.
here, yeah, Phoenix is just doing those final preps to get into the Temple of Fiends Revisited here. Had to run over to Provoca to get heal potions since Canaria did not have them, but everything else pretty much right on schedule.
So 42 black belt, multiple ribbons, Masa. Let's see Phoenix's plan for this Temple of Fiends Revisited. I guess that is a question, with the extra safety that you took, Edgeworth, like what were you feeling your Temple of Fiend Revisited odds were looking like? Were you feeling super confident, pretty confident?
So I feel pretty good if, there's plenty of fast and temper charges, you have nuke fade, 2 life casters, 2 ribbons, like 32 is usually good enough.
Oh,
if this was like... Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you not pick up life on your black mage?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I could have probably went back and grabbed it at some point, but it was like, he's gonna die anyway.
Yeah. The odds of your black mage being the only one to survive a non-elemental AoE is pretty low. But I mean, I've seen Edgeworth luck in the past, so it might have happened just to troll with you a little bit.
Well, that's fine then. If he's the only one that survives Tiamat, then at least I have fast, right?
So Phoenix, getting through that loot plate, getting the tasty EXP of 4 zombie Ds, but we're not in the level getting mood here. We're continuing on.
Oh, he took down the 8-pack of slimes too.
I think the only concern here for Phoenix will be that nuke on Tia potentially taking out the red mage, or the Kraken Punch taking out the red mage. One of the benefits of the 4-man strat, I'm a little bit partial to like even just taking, instead of a white mage, maybe another black mage or something, is just having more punching targets for Kraken to hit. Phoenix doesn't really have that luxury, so if he switches his black mage to the top slot, but then Kraken decides to back row his red mage, could be in a little bit of trouble. So we'll have to see. So Saracen, we did have Burt Reynolds tracking today, so any words of inspiration before you guys get into your last match of the pod rounds?
Well, I'm not going against Bert, so I'm good there.
Oh,
Edgeworth, I think you were talking about there, right?
yeah. Oh, sorry, did I say Saracen?
You did.
Oh,
it's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Bert knows what he's doing, so this should be a pretty good match.
Nice. We'll look forward to watching that. And here we go. The speed bump. 0 respect. No heal pots. Even on the red mage, because I believe the red mage has more than 314 HP. If only slightly, but no respect needed. Down goes Lich. And we're on to the carry floor. 。 . 。  . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
These red Ds just deciding to take up all of the time with those flashes and the horrible run luck that you sometimes see in the 3-man groups.
Yeah, I expect to see a little bit more respect given to Carry. Carry can punch quite hard. I don't know if Phoenix did the kind of safety play that Edgeworth did, where picking up those pro ranks and gold bracelets, but that can make a huge difference on mage survivability to like a carry punch in particular. Kraken punches, they'll often die anyways, but carry punches are very survivable with some extra armor. But with no armor, she can absolutely one-punch you.
Starting out with the Fire 3, but all of the ribbons and all of the land here protecting against that. Not even starting with a lock, or starting with a lock, but not a fast. We do see Carry go down to the Masa swing from the red mage.
Very nice. Yeah, Carry, 10,000 or 1,050 EXP max. Gonna go down pretty reliably there. Phoenix taking a few extra steps here on the seafloor. Does get a not what you want to see. This is why the seafloor is the worst. The sky floor is terrifying, but it's just so short that you don't tend to get as many encounters. And let's see what the big fish plan is.
I'm gonna guess the big fish plan is throw the black mage up front.
Yep. Turn Kraken into whoa.
Whoa.
He has life on his black mage, but still.
Okay.
This is
yeah. Ooh. Was that 2 hits? I think I saw 2 hits.
I also think I saw 2 hits. Oh wait, he doesn't have life on his black mage. He has Invis 2 on his black mage. This is interesting. Not going for fast. Okay, it's solo black belt time. Punch here is the correct play because you've already done so much damage. But this means we're on solo Tia, solo Chaos. But we have a defense sword and a power bonk, and this is not a 32 black belt. This is a 42 black belt.
It's a 39 black belt.
Oh, it's a 39 black belt?
Yeah,
oh.
that middle ground of I think I'm still going to get some experience on the way, or I guess there's not enough reason to push all the way to 42. Not going to be quite as effective in these final 2 boss fights.
That being said, like Edgeworth felt like 32 black belt could solo these last few bosses. Never mind, even higher level one. So this is still absolutely possible. But we need some defenses, maybe a bonk or 2. I would probably just be going more for crits though than bonks.
Yeah, unless you see the super high absorb. Ooh.
No defense sword on this black belt.
3 hits, 208, and Tia punching back for just about as much. This is not looking like a good fight here. Oh. And there's the wipe.
Unfortunate for Phoenix. Remember how Edgeworth was saying, like, oh, if we had a few less nukes and fades, maybe when you don't have the defense sword on your black belt, it's a big, scary moment? I think that might have been what just happened to Phoenix there, but we'll have to see if Phoenix will join us for an interview.
As Phoenix has decided to forfeit the race here, understandable, it's not really a lot of fun to go back through the Temple of Fiends Revisited when you already know that your opponent is finished.
And as the race room is already closed, I just had to send him a quick DM. Oh, okay, it looks like he will be joining us for some impressions and thoughts. And we are joined by Phoenix. GG's Phoenix. A little bit of a tough run at the end there.
Yeah, what are you going to do? It's the risks of 3-manning it sometimes, and, K2 is, well, Kraken gonna Kraken.
Couple things on that final dive, while it's, I guess, 10 minutes fresh on your mind. You didn't have life on your black mage. You did have Invis 2, but you put the red mage in slot 1 against Kraken. Was that like some type of, math mind games with Kraken saying you always back rows, or was that just like, I don't need this red mage anymore? What was your kind of thoughts?
Yeah, I
there?
kind of figured the black mage was a little bit more critical than the red mage at that point, and I was hoping it would work out. It did not. At all.
Did you not have life on your red mage?
I didn't. I don't think I actually went back and picked it up.
Oh,
I saw it and then just didn't bother going back and picking it up.
Okay, so with no life on either caster.
Yeah, I was hoping for a one shot and it did not happen.
And then Tia, were you checking for the defense sword on Tiamat, Or was that just something that you were like the plan was to power Gauntlet all along?
It was just power gauntlet. I was hoping I'd be able to take him in 1 or 2 turns, but he was a little bit beefy, and unfortunately didn't quite work out.
Yeah, the 39 black belt, so close to that 42 breakpoint, but didn't quite get there. And,
if the match wasn't already over by the time I was still grinding, I would have put him right up to 42. But by that point, I was just figuring YOLO.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Saracen, do you have any questions for Phoenix?
So the first one that comes to mind, and I know that probably a raw subject as well, is that ice cave. Very early on, we saw a lot of adversity in there with some trances, some nukes, some everything, and I think it was 4 dives before you decided to make the adjustment and head out. What were your thoughts as you were going through, particularly like dive 2, dive 3?
Well, when I went in, I debated the first time whether or not I should go turn in the adamant, which ended up being the floater, which I'm going to shoot myself for that one. But figuring if it wasn't anything like that, if it was something that I didn't need till later on, it's a long trip back to ice. So I was going to hope to swing by and then do both those at the same time. And then when I got in there the first time, I know it was I got tranced, and I figured I would just play the odds that it wasn't going to be in that chest, and so I would just avoid that spike tile. And then I just kind of came up against absolutely everything else, and I smashed my face against it far too long, and I'll be curious to go back and watch the video and see how long it was that I smashed my face against it there.
To be honest, maybe it was 1 or 2 dives extra smashing your face. It's just the fact that ice ended up having nothing. Edgeworth never touched it and was in the air. Like, you were actually... Ahead's kind of a funny word there, but you had an exploration advantage at that point because Edgeworth was being a little bit more thorough. But that ice dive just kind of set things.
Yeah.
But good job on the early game for sure. As I said, you got out of the inner sea with a little bit of a at least time advantage, if not necessarily like quite as prepped. But that was really good for you. So GG's for that.
I had a good start, and I found a half decent spike tile to grind the black belt for a little bit in Ordeals there with the waters and the nagas, which I almost shot myself in the foot there too. But yeah, and then it all just came crashing down to ice.
Nice. Well, Saracen, do you have any more questions before we kind of head into final thoughts here?
No, that pretty much covers it for me.
Okay, well, with that, let's get into some final thoughts. So maybe, as Edgeworth has been hanging out in here for a while with us, maybe we'll start with them to give us your final thoughts, Edgeworth.
Hey, thanks for Math Girl for doing the restream and Bert for doing the tracking / scouting. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Moving over to Phoenix. Any final thoughts on the seed?
Thanks for the crew for doing this as always. GG Edgeworth, not the result I wanted, but the result I expected.
Fair enough. And I will give my final thoughts. Yeah, once again, thanks to Bert and Math Girl for helping out. Always appreciated. Restreaming especially can be a thankless task, but that is something we're looking for. And we will be raiding RPG Limit Break right after this to see some more Final Fantasy Randomizer action. So if you're looking for some more, feel free to stick around. Thanks to Edge and Phoenix for putting on a great show. And I will pass it over to first-time commentator, shocking everyone, doing a fantastic job, Saracen, to wrap this thing up. So I've been Jad. Thanks for watching, and I'll pass it over to Saracen.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this presentation of a spring tournament race in the Final Fantasy Randomizer. If you're interested in the Randomizer, feel free to check us out, finalfantasyrandomizer.com. Join the Discord, join the community, learn all sorts of stuff from all sorts of people, as we are a very friendly crew. Thank you again to Randomania for hosting us today. It's been great being here for the first time commentating any of these races, and looking forward to some great racing action for the rest of the day. We do have several races coming up. Just pulling up the schedule, we have Guardian Marcus versus Cheesinator currently going on RPG Limit Break. Later today we have Brat versus Angel FM, Sledge versus Jay Scheidel, Caleb versus Life Reboot, and Cyrenus versus Joshua all coming up basically on the hour. So keep us in mind for various races that are coming up. We'll be on Randomania 2 here at 8 p.m. Eastern, and a couple of extra races. Again, any questions about the randomizer or the spring tournament, just join the Discord and we will be happy to direct you.